I want to play as a dragon that electrocutes sheep.
It's not a walkthrough, playthrough, review, anything like that. It's just me playing the game badly so you can see what it looks like. Here we go. If you like this game, you're gonna hate me. This is Dragon's Lair on...
Dragon's Lair.
Oh God.
A fantasy adventure where you become a valiant...
The fantasy is that you're having an adventure. That's pure fantasy. It's a fantasy to call this a game.
Dragon's Lair.
So I mean, I played this in the arcades once. It's Laserdisc in the arcades, and like really nice quality visuals. Where this obviously is crammed onto a CD, so much lower quality, but you know, it's good enough. It's what you would expect. CD based video footage. But it's that we can you can have more lives if you remember to select them, but Jesus Christ, what are you meant to do? This is like a memory test where at a certain point in the game you're meant to do something, but it doesn't give you any clue as to what. It's what I'm pushing every bloody button and direction and crap, and it's just like, that's awful. That's me pushing a button. It makes a boop noise. You see, I guess that's the point where I'm meant to do something. I think maybe I'm going to fall through the floor regardless of what I do. But I guess there's something I can do to kill the tentacles, but I don't know what. Hey! Oh, bollocks. I at least got to my sword. I don't know which button I pressed to do it, but yeah. God, I hate this. It's not a game. Nope. There you go. 5 lives, dead in as long as it takes to run the video sequences. We saw one tiny variation where I just managed to get my sword out, and I've no idea how, because I was just button mashing. It's a really short video because I don't see any reason to play it any longer than that, because it's shit. Sorry, but it is. It was, even in the arcade with the really fancy Laserdisc pretty graphics, it's a tech demo. It's a quick time event, or a series of quick time events, and worse than modern quick time events where it tells you what button to press. This, you got to do trial and error, and you were spending £1 of bloody time for a quick time event that doesn't tell you what button to press, and so you lost your lives really quickly and ended up feeling really cheesed off, and rightly so. It's shit. If you've got if you've got a Jaguar CD, or if you've got a game, if you've got a Game Drive, download it, fine, you know, it's not going to cost you anything. Have a go, find out for yourself, it's shit. But Jesus, do not, for God's sake, buy a Jaguar and a Jaguar CD because you think this is a game worth playing. It's not. Can you tell? I don't like this, but that's me patting my bare stomach because it's hot in here and I haven't got a shirt on. Yeah, okay, you really wanted to know that. I'm just talking absolute shite now because I don't want to talk about the game anymore because it's so god-awful and I hate it. Stopping now before, I don't know, something happens, my head explodes or something. Thank you for watching. Sorry about that.
Turn on big light. Brightness 100%.
Turning the big light on.
Okay. Brightness 100%.
Sure. Setting 4 lights brightness to 100%.
Okay. Turn on spot 2.
Okay. Turning spot 2 on.
Yeah, that's too bright. Whatever. Right then, today's question for Q&A is from Tiberius Claudius bloody long namus Peter. Link to his channel down there. He asks, for Q&A, or you could answer in the comments if you prefer. I do not prefer. I'm going to answer it here. I don't know where I'm pointing. Were there any gaming magazines you particularly enjoyed back in the day? And do you have any memories of them you'd care to share? Yes. First gaming magazine I ever bought at all, never mind on a regular basis, was Computer and Video Games. I bought it back when they had computer listings, you know, type in your own game. And I typed in a game for the ZX81, which was obviously a complete pain in the arse. Firstly, because the keyboard on the ZX81 is a nightmare until you learn. Type with your nails, don't type with your fingertips. And I didn't have a tape recorder, which meant I would type it in and play the game, and then either turn it off when I'm done or suffer chronic memory wobble and the whole thing would crash. Yeah. But the game that I typed in was a version of City Bomber, which sort of worked in that, you know, my little plane would fly along in super jerky fashion, and you could drop your bombs, and they would level the buildings. But when your plane dropped down and went along, it would fly into the buildings, but not be destroyed. It literally just flew straight through the buildings, so there was no, you didn't die. It didn't matter. So the object of the game, the challenge wasn't there. You could level the buildings by dropping bombs on them or by simply flying through them. Yeah. Other magazines, years later, and I can't remember if it was still Computer and Video Games or if it was Mean Machine Sega, but I wrote in, I featured in one of these a couple of times because I got in the high score section for playing hard driving, and I was in it 2 months in a row, which was great. But also they had a section called Mean Yob, which was like a letters section, and it was pretty irreverent. And I wrote in a letter, and I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but what I wrote was stupid. It was absurd. It was just taking the piss out of Mean Yob as a character. I wish I could remember what it was I wrote, but I don't remember. But it got published, and I was thrilled to see my name there on the page. I wish I'd kept that one, but I didn't. Magazines in terms of actually being a good gaming magazine. There are two that come to mind. One was Ace. I can't remember what the letters stood for, but it was a really good gaming magazine. It was informative and fairly serious in that Computer and Video Games and Mean Machine Sega, okay, they were about gaming, but they were like big pictures and not much text. They weren't a serious magazine. They were kind of like a comic for gaming. I liked them, but they weren't especially informative. They didn't go into a lot of detail, and I wanted detail, and Ace went into detail while still having a very easily accessible kind of format. It was still an easy read. And that kind of fizzled out after a while. They just stopped making it, which was a shame because I really liked it. And then along came Edge, which took the serious approach to gaming, proper gaming journalism, and it was very informative and in-depth, and it looked at the gaming industry, and I don't know if it's still going. And I read that and collected it for years. But gradually, to put it bluntly, it crawled up its own arse. It took its seriousness too seriously. You know, it won awards and everything. It was like, yes, we're proper journalists and take us seriously. We're very, very serious. And God, it got boring. It really, it seemed to stop being about gaming and became about the gaming industry. And as a gamer, I don't give a crap about the gaming industry. I want to know, is this game any good? And it stopped being about that, and so I stopped buying it. Literally crawled up its own arse, and that was a real shame. And that's actually where I stopped buying gaming magazines. I realised they were not fit for purpose anymore. You couldn't trust what they said. Because, I mean, it seemed like you had different magazines were attached to different gaming brands, like your Nintendo magazines and your Sega magazines, and they had to say good things about the games produced by, I don't know if they were their sponsors, but they had kind of official backing. Like, if they didn't say nice things about Nintendo games, Nintendo weren't going to give them early access to Nintendo games, so they had to say good things, and it just meant you couldn't believe them. Everything was 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever, for something that was a sack of shit. Excuse my French. Actually, I don't know what French for shit is, so that's... ignore me. Blathering. Yeah, you know, at that point, once Edge had crawled up its own arse, I stopped buying magazines altogether and just relied on the internet, which was probably not a lot more trustworthy either, until really YouTube, and you could see for yourself, was this game any good? And actually demos. I did keep buying, now I think about it, PlayStation magazine for a long while, and it wasn't that I was paying too much attention to the articles, it was the demo discs on the cover. Yeah, as far as PS2, now I think about it, because I got Spyro the Dragon, Enter the Dragonfly, based on a short piece of, was it even, I don't think it was even a demo, a playable demo, I think it was a piece of video footage, and I saw Spyro like electrocuting sheep, and I thought, that's fantastic, I want to play as a dragon that electrocutes sheep. Yeah, that's where I stopped buying magazines, and I think how far behind that was YouTube, not sure. I did for a long while buy Retro Gamer magazine, for quite a long while. I think I mean, it's been through 2 iterations, and I think I preferred the original incarnation of it than the later one. And eventually I stopped buying that because a lot of the time it was just talking about things that again, gaming industry, and having long discussions with developers from back in the day, and it's like, I don't care. All I really wanted to know was what they had to say about the hardware. And a lot of the time that seemed to contradict things that I knew or thought I knew or whatever, and I came to like not believe a good deal of what was being written, or not agree with, or yeah. And then it just seemed to start repeating itself, because there is only so much you can say about retro hardware and retro gaming. You can only tell your stories so often before you start repeating yourself, and it seemed to me that that's what Retro Gamer was doing. It was like, here's an article on the Spectrum, and a year or so later, here's an article on the Spectrum, and I'm like, you're not going to tell me anything I don't know already, so I don't care. So I stopped buying it. That's about all I've got to say on it, I think. Yeah, okay. Anyone else who's got any questions they would like answering in a video like this, leave your question in the comments below, and begin with 4 Q&A so I know not to answer in the comments. And thank you for watching.
Yes, Your Majesty, it would be... What the bloody hell? Okay, which smart-ass rigged the subscribe button to the teleporter?
Anyone else who's got any questions they would like, words.